Advancing financial inclusion is needed to aid in the economy's recovery from the pandemic. 75% or 54 million Filipinos still do not have investments. While this figure may be less than ideal, there's a big room for improvement. Through innovations around FinTech, account ownership jumped to 29% in 2019 from about 23% in 2017, where an additional 5 million people have new accounts according to the 2019 Financial Inclusion Survey. From the digitization of supply chains to providing macro pension to rural communities, this is still a lot to be done to realize financial inclusion for all Filipinos. That is why the topic for the first panel for today is financial inclusion, transforming the financially disenfranchised into economic contenders. Let us welcome your panelists for today. First, we have Mr. Rajan Uttamchandani, Esquire Financing Chairman and CEO. We have Mr. Roy Miclat, President and CEO of Cooperative Insurance. We have Mr. Larry Ocampo, President and CEO of CitySavings Bank. To discuss how the public and private sector can work together to ensure all Filipinos are part of a financial system, we have our moderator, Mr. Edison Tsai, Executive Director of Seedin Technology. Mr. Edison, take it away.
Good morning, everyone, and it is a pleasure of mine to moderate today's discussion. I'm here with three powerhouse speakers, Mr. Larry Lorenzo from CitySavings, Mr. Rajan Uttamchandani from Esquire Financing, and Mr. Roy Miclat from One Co-op. And so good morning to everyone. And I would like to open the floor with a short introduction. Perhaps each speaker can introduce themselves. Let us start with Larry.
Okay, so I'm President and CEO of CitySavings Bank. It's a 55-year-old bank, originally from Cebu. It's now wholly owned by Union Bank, which is part of the Appointees Group.
Thank you, Larry. And Raj? Hi, Raj. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm actually part of the Esquire Financing Group, and we specialize on MSME funding.
Thank you, Raj. And I think Mr. Roy is still trying to connect. He has some connectivity issue. So while we're waiting for Roy to share his background, may I open the floor with our speakers, each of your organization's current initiatives. As we all know, pandemic has struck every country in the world, and Philippines is no exception. And that our economy is also heavily impacted. What are some of the initiatives that your organization is undertaking to address the current situation? And since the topic of this panel is about transforming the financially disenfranchised into economic contenders, what segments of the community are you helping and through your initiatives? Larry?
Okay. So CitySavings Bank is really known as a salary loan lender. We're in fact market leaders in lending to teachers. But what I'd like to talk about today is on the motorcycle side of the business. So 3 years ago, we went full on in investing in this new pillar of ours, which is motorcycle loans. And during this pandemic, as the lockdown eased, what we saw was that many motorcycle dealers, hundreds of motorcycle dealers, also eased off lending. I think they took the time to focus on collections. They wanted to see the dust settle. And CitySavings, we'd like to think that as people step back, we doubled down. We went full on lending as motorcycles became more relevant to the Filipinos who wanted to go back to work. Public transport was severely limited, and motorcycles were affordable. They were socially distanced and therefore safe, and they needed to go to work. And so we went full on. We used technology that allowed us to lend anytime, anywhere, to book the loans anytime, anywhere. We used alternative credit scoring that also allowed us to score, I think, more completely. As you know, motorcycle borrowers are, if not unbanked, underbanked. And so we were using all sorts of data that allowed us to do maybe a more complete credit evaluation. So as the lockdown eased, we had never released more motorcycle loans than what we have in this third and fourth quarter. We set up partnerships, in fact, with hundreds of dealers that allowed us to be their exclusive lender for their financing for motorcycles. And I think while technology is key, the apps we have, the alternative credit scoring that we deploy, most important, I think, is the bank's purpose or the organization's purpose. And CitySavings has always had as one of its mottos, helping people of moderate means. And we decided that we wanted to be part of the solution in jumpstarting the economy by providing Filipino workers a chance to go back to work in a safe manner. And I think that as we move forward, this business can only get stronger, and more people will also be wanting to go back to work. The more people go back to work, the faster the economy grows. And if you pull back, then you prevent that. And so CitySavings decided we wanted to move forward.
Thank you, Larry. And as the economy has gone through, I mean, the country has gone through several lockdowns throughout this year. The mode of transportation has really also transgressed into from primarily car vehicle into a lot of motorcycles that are serving the needs of the transport industry, the food industry, and whatnot. So, do you also see that as in line with the motorcycle loans that you're dispersing? I mean, in terms of the demographics and the users who are applying for these loans.
Yeah, so we have relationships with individuals, for people who want to use this on a personal basis to go to work. But we also have relationships with institutions, that want to provide their motorcycle partner operators maybe lower cost, more reliable financing. And we are able to give incentives if we work with institutions that allow us to provide that. So I think the industry as a whole is accelerating. And in terms of usage, you're also seeing a broader spectrum of the population using motorcycles, not just to go to work, but to use it also for work. And we're excited to be at the forefront in pushing the envelope here.
Thank you, Larry. And before we jump to Raj, we have here Mr. Roy Miclat. Roy, good to have you here with us this morning. I hope your connectivity is okay now. Oh, Roy, I think you're on mute. Can you unmute your mic?
Yeah, we have fixed it. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Roy.
Roy, welcome.
So, Roy, would you also tell the audience a bit about your organization and what are some of the initiatives that you're currently doing to address the economic situation?
Yeah, I am from one CISP. It's one cooperative insurance system of the Philippines. It's a cooperative insurer. The only difference with private insurer is that we only serve our cooperative members. We cannot go public. And so that exclusivity is stated in the statutes, in the insurance code and the cooperative code. So we only serve cooperatives. In this pandemic, we hastened the launching of the digitization of co-ops. We call it DigiCoop. Cooperatives are one of the most conservative organizations in the country because they are member-owned and they're averse to risk. So they rather wait for opportunities for low risk opportunities rather than jump into opportunities that can help propel their growth. But they take it one at a time, one at a time. But during this pandemic, the cooperatives were challenged in terms of distribution of consumer goods, distribution of loans to members because of the quarantine restrictions. They cannot go to branches of the cooperatives. So what we did is to launch our digital suite, which provides a lot of support services for cooperatives. You can apply for loan in that DigiCo ecosystem. You can get your claim for loans, and then you can. There is also a marketplace. There's bills payment, so it helped a lot in terms of engaging our members during this pandemic. Outside of helping our communities that we operate, the what really helped the cooperatives is the slow digitization of the cooperatives. Right now, we have enrolled about 900,000 cooperative members in the DigiCo-op, or that's about 600 co-ops. Still, we have a long way to go because we are almost 3,000 cooperative members with one CISP. This is now a problem being faced by cooperatives in terms of dealing with the younger generations, especially the Generation Z and the millennials. Millennials and the younger generation want to transact digitally, and cooperatives are not up to it, especially in the Philippines. Other countries, they are up to date in terms of technology, but in the Philippines, you will have a hard time dealing with cooperatives in terms of using technology because they're used to face-to-face, because they're based in communities. But right now, they were forced to use digital technology during this pandemic. So, because if you're having claims, you have to wait for the check. That's how we service insurance here in the Philippines. But you cannot go to the bank even if you have the check. And there was no courier available. Logistics was a problem in the earlier part of the quarantine period. And what we did was to use technology to service the cooperatives. And sari-sari store members of cooperatives made a vital role during that time because they can get their claims, their loans released in sari-sari stores owned by cooperatives member, and they are accredited by the cooperative to disburse this loan, and the technology provided that for our members and for the cooperative. So I think this pandemic, on a positive note, the cooperatives helped realize that we should be using technology not only to service our existing members, but to attract the younger generations. Would you believe that average member of cooperatives in the Philippines is 52 years old? So, Larry, we are 2 years younger than them.
uh,
So,
on the looks department, you may be 10 years younger.
we are about 6 years younger than the average age of a farmer in the Philippines. So you can see the age gap, and we have a very young population in the Philippines. 10 years from now, cooperatives will have a hard time recruiting younger generations to become members because their cooperatives are not into technology. But this pandemic, on a positive outcome of this pandemic for cooperatives is their appreciation for technology. Now, DigiCo-op is one of the most used among cooperatives. It has a core banking system, everything. It's a suite that you can use, and you can apply for loan. We can release your claims for insurance. You can pay your bills. You can everything. It's a one-stop shop digital ecosystem.
Roy, thank you for that development. I think the pandemic really has pushed the envelope for organizations to go digital, even as a more traditional organization like a cooperative is going digital, and that's very good for the younger generation. So for Raj, can you also tell us a bit more about your initiatives and how Esquire is addressing the financial inclusion needs during this pandemic?
Yep, sure. Actually, we made a pivot about 5 years ago into a click and mortar model where we would do online lead gen and offline closing, which brought down our branches from initially 100 branch rollout to a 10 branch rollout. Now we're down to a 3 branch rollout. So we were quite well prepared in terms of our online infrastructure. However, our SME market, which is the market that we mainly service, were heavily affected. Most of these businesses only have about 27 days worth of cash. And so we saw a spike in demand, but with all of the uncertainty, with a 90-day or close to 120-day lockdown, we couldn't really turn on the tap and start lending completely. So
Not to
during
mention
Bayanihan,
the Bayanihan, right?
yeah, so I was just
Also,
saying
yeah.
during Bayanihan, it was only the clients who were in priority industries, servicing essentials, servicing the importation of test kits, servicing the importation of, the masks as well as the face shields, who kind of were serviced by the financial institutions. But probably July 15 or July 30 onwards, before Bayanihan 2, the lending started to normalize a little bit. Today we're at about 40 to 50% of levels from last year, year on year. I mean, it's still not as far as where we would want to be, but really, I think our 5 C's of credit have changed. Before it was character, capacity, capital, condition, collateral. We added a 6 C. How these businesses pivot throughout COVID, and figuring out what their new strategy is, what their new kind of business transformation model is. And so we've also been trying to work with Go Negosyo and the likes of DTI to try and work on an SME guarantee program, because the demand for funding is very, very heavy. However, because the risk associated with the short-term funding to SMEs is very, very high, not a lot of people are lending to the SME sector, which is actually the sector that actually needs to be bolstered heavily, because the 49% unemployment is really affecting this sector, and they don't have the cash buffer that the large corps have, or the liquidity buffers that large corps have, to really be able to sustain themselves in the long run. So we're really trying in our best efforts to be able to service the SME market, but there's so much more we can do, and alongside with the government and and initiatives like this that bring attention to lending to priority sectors, I believe that we'll be able to make a large step forward in terms of, or a leapfrogs forward in terms of being able to service the sector.
Thank you, Raj. And being also in the SME financing sector, myself, which is the company, Seedin, we share the same sentiment towards helping small businesses with their working capital needs. So for my organization, which is Seedin, we are one of the largest business financing platform in Southeast Asia, providing the needs of local businesses through crowdfunding. So it's a crowdfunding platform, and by connecting businesses and our network of individual and institutional investors, we are able to address their needs. The company was established in 2014, and the group has funded more than 200 million US dollars across SMEs from Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Taiwan, and Cambodia. And so in terms of operating, it's not that far off from, let's say, a Digi Co-op, wherein it's connecting the members, no, to help these businesses across Southeast Asia. And the target market are the small to medium businesses, which, as Raj mentioned, it's the segment that needs the most help. And I think with whether it be City Savings or One Cop or Esquire, we're all here to help this segment, which comprises of more than 40% of our employment. And so going back to Larry, it's a very interesting initiative that City Savings has undertaken this year. What are some of your insights or numbers that you can share? And how is the outlook look like since we're in December? I mean, maybe each speaker can look into your crystal ball and tell us a bit of your predictions or insights towards 2021.
Okay, so the bulk of our portfolio is actually salary loans to teachers, no? And I think we're fortunate in that focus on this market uh, wherein this market did not lose their work. No, public school teachers, not one person has been asked to leave the company, so to speak. No. So what we're seeing is that your portfolio actually had a reduction in NPL this year, no, which I think is special nowadays.
Yes.
So
It's a
so for
it's a
next year,
reverse trend because most
I know.
financing institutions right, have doubled or increased their NPLs. Right. So
For sure, what we're seeing, no, the lockdown has obviously hampered traditional selling. We've been able to work around that by deploying apps, tablets for our salespeople, such that we don't have to do the transactions in our branch or in the school. But moving forward, we see a recovery of this market next year. No? And so, if maybe the business was a little dampened this year because of physical limitations due to the lockdowns, I think you'll see a full recovery of that next year. Now, for the motorcycle loan business, this will just accelerate. No, I think Amor was saying earlier it grew 20% this year, um, at least. And we're seeing also that the motorcycle as a mode of transport, as part of a business, is just becoming more and more relevant. And so our goal next year is to be able to grow at least as fast as the market, if not more so. No, I think in relation to other Southeast Asian countries, the number of motorcycles per capita is so much lower in the Philippines, and certainly we can afford to have more in the country. So that one you're seeing maybe triple digit growth for us. The other area that we're also focusing on is salary loans outside the teacher market. No? And again, this is an area where maybe many other institutions have pulled back, and we're coming in because we see, first of all, we see it's viable, and second, it fills a need among employees. So this one we're seeing huge growth in this market. This year we expect to see triple digit growth again next year. So we are bullish about 2021.
thank you, Larry. And it's very important that like for example, you mentioned teachers who are especially public school teachers who are generally not as I mean in terms of income, it's not on the high end. And when the pandemic struck, a lot of these teachers are really affected. So this really came in time to help them get through this pandemic when schools closed, and a lot of schools are if not most of them are adapting online learning. This has also become the new normal, right? So I think for City Savings, it will definitely be there's triple digit growth, triple the growth, as well as the lowering of NPL is just nothing short of amazing, especially during this time. Right.
Thank you.
So thank you. And Roy, so we would like to know a bit more also on how is one co-op initiatives work, because you also mentioned about aside from the I mean what are some of the demographics that you're addressing, the like CitySavings is motorcycle and teachers loan. You also have other projects, like for example with the Union Bank. I think you have the partner with Union Bank in the I2I network.
Yeah. First of all, the cooperatives always thrives in crisis. They were born during crisis, so it's in the DNA of cooperatives. So just like City Savings, cooperatives are thriving in this crisis. Like also CISP is an insurer, it's an insurance organization. So one of the initiatives by next year is that we will be introducing the climate risk disaster insurance. So just the fourth typhoon that hit Luzon last month or last October has has affected a lot of communities, not only co-op members. But what what made the recovery faster among co-op members is that they have insurance. They have insurance cover. So it's easy to recover if you have support, no matter how small, if you have support. So we will be expanding our climate disaster risk insurance by next year by providing, this would be, you'll be interested here, Edison and Rajan, because we will be ensuring loss of income for micro and small and medium enterprises, which is related to climate disaster risk. Okay, so a lot of our members are also micro and small enterprises. So, and that's the problem when disaster strikes. They have only about 10 days of available cash for sari-sari stores, and after that they will lose a lot of business in the community. So that's one of the intervention that we'll be doing by next year, offering it to the cooperative market. But I am just I told you earlier, we can only serve cooperatives, unlike not public. So I think you have to cooperativize so you can avail of that service. In terms of partnering with Union Bank, they have been our partner in terms of the DigiCo-op as a supporting an aggregator bank with Union Bank. And then they are helping our small and medium enterprises in terms of I2I. That's a business to business platform that they have introduced among cooperatives, and we are partnering with them. And then the other partners that we have right now is Malayan Insurance. We had just signed an agreement to expand our coverage in terms of various insurance products for women, specifically for women, and then for fisher folk and farmers. We will be introducing next year also index insurance in partnership with Malayan, and hopefully we can get the nod of the insurance commission, because this is a new type of insurance in the country. Although African countries and Western countries have this index insurance, it will be introduced in the Philippines first time, and the coverage are the most vulnerable sector. And of course, insurance our business is risk, so we might as well go to that risk and hopefully help our farmers and our fisher folks and livestock raisers during disaster and climatic problems like drought and flooding. This will help cover their businesses. So these are the new initiatives that are being done by One CISP outside of the traditional products that we have been introducing and giving to the cooperatives. And we hope that other insurance providers will follow and serve the public, because we are restricted among cooperatives. And like Larry, I am optimistic by next year that the country will recover, especially among the low income groups, because they're more resilient compared to other businesses. And just like Raj said, and you, Edison, micro, small, and medium enterprises should be given more support so that they can help in terms of recovery. cooperatives are helping their members, but we still need help, especially in terms of regulatory environment, because we are restricted, so much restricted in terms of serving the public, and we hope that we can be allowed to serve public in terms of insurance, in terms of lending also.
Thank,
That's
thank,
one of the things that we are lobbying. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Roy. Thank you, Roy. It's very important for companies or businesses to have some form of coverage or protection. I think a lot of the businesses that have been affected, even in our company, borrowers who are in the agri sector, when the typhoon struck, it's important for them to have some form of coverage like crop insurance or other means of recovering their losses. And so
Next year, it would be available, Edison. Next year, it would be
yeah,
available.
we should talk. Right. So right, and that brings us to Esquire's initiatives because Raj, you did mention the Bayanihan earlier and how that has impacted businesses and financiers across the country. So what is your bold prediction for 2021 and how are we working with the private and public sector to come to a dialogue to really help the businesses recover and bounce back?
So I think that Bayanihan 1 was heavily availed by a lot of clients. Bayanihan 2 was actually less availed because most of the businesses were already open or were trying to survive. And the government's done a great thing by making Bayanihan only available for current clients and not for past due accounts. So, past due accounts couldn't use Bayanihan as a excuse of,
Pending
delaying
60 days.
payments. Yeah. So, because it's really for current clients, even if a Bayanihan 3 came out with similar type of credentials, I think there's no issue in terms of really businesses availing of Bayanihan. I think one of the things that we need to do as financiers and banks is to really take a risk on the SME segment. And Esquire is really spearheading this. We're sacrificing our profitability this year, focusing on higher provisions, but really trying to provide stimulus for the SME segment. Because, in the last, 10 years, we've had no issues with the SME segment. It's been very, very good for our portfolio. So in times of crisis, I think as banks and financial institutions, I like how RSA said it. Look at or ICTSI Ricky Razon said it. Look at 2020 as a year of sacrifice. Provision higher, sacrifice your profitability, but really try to provide stimulus to try and help let the economy bounce back. And so we're doing the maximum we can for 2020 and 2021. We don't envision profitability to be high in the next 2 years. We really feel that these are sacrificial years in terms of trying to help the economy bounce back. So we're willing to take higher risk to be able to try and provide the funding, even at an increased NPL or at a managed NPL to really try and stimulate the economy. Because again, it's for good corporate governance. It's not about profitability, right? It's about trying to provide the helping hand to the SME sector when they need it most. And the demand for funding by the SME sector, given the effects of the long lockdown, one of the longest lockdowns in the world, is significant. And until government steps in with some sort of stimulus, I believe it's our responsibility as banks or financial institutions to truly try and support our clients. And I believe that maybe by 2022, when there's a massive vaccine rollout, or 2023, you'll see a full recovery. Don't see this as a bounce back recovery in 2021. We feel that the recovery period, given the effects of the drop in GDP as well as the non-growth of GDP. So if you look at a 12% drop in GDP plus a 7% growth that didn't happen, that's almost a 20% swing in GDP. And the stimulus that has come into the economy is nowhere close to that amount. So given the current environment, I believe as banks and financial institutions, we should really try and support the SME and micro segment for the next few years and focus on trying to build back consumer confidence in our economy.
Thank you, Raj. As very well said, 2020 is for a lot of the financing institutions. It's a year of sacrifice, and 2021 we hope it will be a year of comeback, right? So it's important that we manage the risk as well, as we try to help as many businesses and individuals as possible. So it's really about striking a balance between that, and I think each of the organization here has done a tremendous job in doing so. So any to wrap up our panel, maybe may I ask for final thoughts from each of the speaker. Let's start with Larry.
Well, it was my pleasure to be here. I appreciated receiving insights from all of you. It's just very helpful. I want to say thank you, and for 2021, I appreciate Rajan's very sobering thoughts. But again, I'm also with you in saying, yeah, we need to go out there. We need to take the initiative in moving the country forward.
Thank you, Larry. And Roy, any suggestions for the for the private or public sectors on how we can further our initiatives and help the country to bounce back?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me, and Rajan and Larry and you had given me also insight, some thoughts on what to do with one CISP. But I agree with Larry that we have to really take the risk of helping next year, because just like what Rajan said, it's about 20% swing, and you cannot recover 20% immediately, but you just have to start somewhere. So for me, the cooperatives are doing their best to help communities bounce back, and we are providing them the necessary support in terms of protection and in terms of other value-added services that we can provide. And hopefully the other private organization or private financial institutions take also the lead. It's like during the heyday of getting profits previous years, you have to sacrifice this 2021 and help those people that provided you these profits in your previous years. It has to be a give and take, And I appreciate what Larry had done among the motorcycle riders, because these are the low income groups. Those who avail of the motorcycles these are the low income groups, just like what the cooperatives have been serving. So for me, we have to work together. The private sector, the cooperative, we call the cooperatives as the third path group or the third economy of the country. We have to work together, because if we do work together, we can do more. So I hope we can synergize everything this year, so we can recover at least the 50% of what we have lost. Just like what Rajan said, that's 20%. If we can bounce back at 10, then 2022 would be good for us.
Thank you, Roy. And collaboration is key, right? Private and public sectors, it takes a whole village. So Raj, your final thoughts, and Also, I would like to encourage our speakers to share how people or interested businesses or individuals can reach your organization to avail or to work with your initiatives.
So first, I'd like to commend Larry, to get into the consumer finance segment while everyone's trying to get out of that segment during a pandemic is very noble and very, it is the type of stimulus we need for our people. Roy, the insurance idea is actually fantastic, and being able to provide, like you said, restaurants have close to 15 days of cash flow. The average MSME has 27 days of cash flow. So, I mean, we're very, very happy that you're coming out with products like this because I believe micro and SME insurance, especially in times of crisis, will really, really be helpful for this segment. And that people would actually appreciate this type of insurance today because if they had it, it would have been a very, very different path for their businesses. Similar to what everyone is saying, Edison, reiterating what I said earlier, 2020 and 2021 is really a year of sacrifice. We shouldn't look at, completely conservative NPLs. We should really focus on balancing. And similar to what Roy said, for all these years, we've been profitable. Let's try and focus on sacrificing profitability this year and trying to really stimulate the economy. And the maximum we can stimulate the MSME segment as well as the consumer segment as financial institutions, the better it is for the economy as a whole, the better it is for financial institutions. So, end of the day, it's a win-win-win, where by stimulating the economy, helping out the MSMEs and the consumer segments, eventually it'll translate to a win for the financial institutions. So I think with that, I'd like to, end with to contact us at Esquire. You can actually visit our online application, esquire.ph, where we actually process your application end to end online.
Thank you, and Raj couldn't have said it better. With this is a for this year and next year, it will really be a collaboration of all partners in the industry. And how may the public reach for to avail of some of your initiatives as well, Larry for CitySavings and Roy for One CSP?
Well, we have a website, citysavings.com.ph. We can also be contacted on Facebook Messenger. Just go to the City Savings Bank website.
Thank you, Larry. And for those who want to avail of motorcycle loans and
for
teachers
one
loans,
CISP,
and Roy,
for one CISP, you can go to our website or to our Facebook page to contact us. Everything is there, so they can. And we have 14 offices all over the country to serve the various provinces and regions in the country. Website and our Facebook page, one CISP.
thank you, Roy. And it's been a pleasure this morning hosting this panel with three of the powerhouses in the financing sectors. And I think with a combination of stimulus initiatives, insurance, and bolder loan initiatives, we can work together to bring the country back on its feet, as well as helping the people and businesses in need, and truly transforming the financially disenfranchised back into economic contention. Right. So, with that, on behalf of World FinTech Festival and Geyser Maclang Group, we thank you for your time this morning, and that's thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Thanks.
Thank you.